You're listening to a Rock Candy podcast.
What's missing from this picture? It's just me, without MacPod!
There's just one pod that I love more than anything. I hold it so near to my heart. It has just two hosts. They're a pair of two college friends. A bright light in a world that is dark. Magpie, it's not like other pods. Magpie, it's not like other pods.
Coming to you from Magnified Studios, Magnified Pod presents Pods from the Penalty Box, a nostalgic sampling of skate punk albums from the 90s Christian alternative scene. Join us in the pit. I'm Andrew.
I'm John.
And this is our podcast, and that's our food lion.
That's right.
John, we only have one more week of this intro.
Yeah.
Might
have to keep saying that's our food land forever, though.
Absolutely. Unequivocally. Yes. So some people might be thinking, you guys, what are you talking about? You have one more week. You're literally on this episode talking about the last thing that Ghoti Hook ever released. What could you possibly have in store for us next week? Well, dear listener, next week, John and I will be sitting down and having a conversation with none other than Joel Bell.
Hey. Heard of that guy?
Lead singer, Ghoti Hook, all around cool dude. We've been chatting with them throughout these episodes. And yeah, we're going to have a conversation and do the old MagPod interview that we do.
That's right. That's really what we always call it before we start.
We don't have like a pre-interview like saying of any kind. Now to the words that you're gonna listen to and answer questions about.
Yep.
You got a better.
I think that works. I think that's strong.
The old MagPod interview thing.
Gather your family around.
Come
on the radio.
Yep. We're sort of the kind of like a early 20th century, just gather around and be like, Magnified Pod here, telling you about how delicious cigarettes are.
We should send out decoder rings to Patreon punks and give them special messages in the show.
Oh, yes.
This is kind of a good idea.
Yeah, this is a great idea. I have some other swag that I've been meaning to send to our $10 level people. But I will hold on. Let's
rummage. Ooh.
What's this, John? Can you hear this? I mean, you can hear it and you can see it. So it's a special thing coming to the $10 month people.
So many teases in this intro.
I know. Well, one thing that I'm not going to tease much longer is this beer that is sweating profusely.
Yeah.
To my right.
What you got?
I got the hammies, bro. It is a hammies evening. I'm doing the Frenzel Rom here, doing beer and a shot. Not so much a shot as it just is a pour of whiskey. But
right on.
Beer and a shot. Terrible.
My pants are falling down. My fucking pants fell off.
We are doing Frenzel Pod next season.
Ooh, that'd be kind of cool.
I would love to talk to those guys. Those guys are just absolutely bananas. I would love to talk to them.
What are they up to now? We'll find out.
I feel like they're still doing music.
All right, right on. I'm still doing this celery sour.
Ooh,
Celery Gosa beer. So can't go wrong there.
Definitely not.
I do not have any liquor to wash it down, but I do have a grapefruit Spindrift. But I'll cast all my Spindrift aside if it means the Sanso is in the picture. Love that Sanso.
Yeah. We
also I just want to apologize.
We will take any SpawnCon from Sanso in a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead. You're gonna
apologize for repeatedly saying Ivan's name wrong. Ivan, I apologize. Thank you for sending us delicious drinks. I appreciate the fact that me mispronouncing your name doesn't mean that you didn't send us delicious drinks. So thanks again.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the additional Sanso flavors. I had another calamansi the other day. I had a mango today.
I already finished my box, bro.
You finished them already?
I'm all out.
Oh, damn. I have
time for some more.
I have I have rotating flavors. So I have LaCroix, Trader Joe's, Sanso, Aha, bubbly, whatever. I just kind of have just rotating sparkling water flavors at all times.
When we run out of Christian alternative bands from the 90s to cover, we're just going to switch into a water podcast and people won't even notice the change. It'll just be like, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, Magnified Pod slowly turned into a water-based podcast. Didn't even notice.
So gradually. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it's like Simpsons.
The Simpsons
yeah.
joke, right?
Yeah. Fox turned into a hardcore porn network so gradually we didn't even notice.
Yeah. It's a similar thing happening here.
So one thing, John, I think we should do while we are cracking our beers is I think we need to raise a glass to the memory of Banana Man, Combat Chuck, Shawn Matthews, who tragically died recently. We've talked about him and invoked Combat Chuck and Banana Man. I mean, Banana Man very recently, just this season and last season, of course, because of 5 Iron Frenzy. We've never met the guy, but he was close with a lot of the people that we have talked with in the last few years. So I wanted to, if people want to donate to the GoFundMe, there is a GoFundMe that I retweeted. So you can go to the Memorial Fund for Shawn Matthews. It's, all the money will go directly to his wife. So yeah, just very sad.
Yeah, really, really shocking and sad to see that news. And we know he was a really, really important part of this community, and by all accounts, a great guy, and a dear friend to a lot of folks in the scene who've become our friends. So yes, sorry for his loss to the community and his family, and just people who've counted him a friend over the years. So
yeah,
very sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. So hey, to Combat Chuck,
man,
to Banana Man, cheers
to his memory.
Yes, I know that they're kind of transitioning from that. There's just there's lots of heavy stuff, man. There's just so much heavy stuff going on in the world. Yeah. There's just so much heaviness and sadness, and I've just been weighed down and beaten down with it a lot in the last month. And doing the pod is always sort of that oasis for me, getting to see my boy.
Yep.
And just listening to to the our community of people reach out and share and just talk with us has just been really nice. So thanks everybody for continuing to lift us up. And so why don't we go to some of those said folks.
Let's do it.
Hey, what's up, guys? Your boy Danny Stairs calling in. I just wanted to take a minute here just to thank Andrew for his oh shit, what do you call this stupid segment? It's not Joy Boys. Fuck, it's early Monday morning. Fuck.
The takes?
Not thoughtful thoughts. Jesus Christ, my brain can't figure out what this segment's called. But Andrew, I just want to thank you for calling out this bodily autonomy of women. I mean, I think most of your listeners probably already think about those things and are on that train and on that bandwagon, but I don't know that we see all the specific examples, and I don't know that there are enough men in America actually not just thinking about it and agreeing, but, you know, speaking out and coming out in favor of these things. So I appreciate that you take this opportunity to share those kinds of things and that you care about these things and want to make sure that other people hear these things and celebrate women who are, you know, refusing to give up that autonomy because, you know, society kind of has told women that, you know, we as men that's what their bodies are for. And so I love that you highlight those things, and it's such a thing that you feel so strongly about. So thank you. I'm sure I'll have more to say soon. Magpie for life.
Thanks, buddy. I agree.
Thanks, Dean. Yeah, I think this is an issue that men need to be more vocal about. It, like, I understand that, like, there are plenty of men who probably hold personal beliefs about these kinds of issues. I think it is one of those issues that there needs to be more vocal support from men behind issues of women's rights, bodily autonomy. Like, it's all extremely important. And I will never stop shutting up about it. If I hear something or I'm upset about something or I see some sort of injustice or something like that, I will call it out. I am not afraid to speak my mind on this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Dan, I appreciate you doing so.
Thanks, man. Some more thoughtful thoughts from our boy Danny Stairs.
Hey, what's up, guys? Your boy Danny Stairs here. Just weighing in on the final Ghoti Hook LP. Not my favorite. There were some songs that were like, oh, this is okay. Like, if you put this on, like, if we were hanging out and you played this album, I wouldn't be like, oh, fuck, this, I don't want to listen to however long this album is. But I don't think I'm ever going to seek out any of these songs to listen to them again. Quite the departure from form. I can see why both of you struggled with it for quite some time. And then your guys' musical tastes have probably matured, whereas you know me, when you only like three bands, you don't really have to change your taste much. And this was too far out of my wheelhouse, out of what I'm looking for. If I wanted music that was similar to this, I'd probably just go to other bands that's just what they do, because I feel like they do a better job. Because that's not really Ghoti Hook's lane, at least in my brain. Even if this is all really well done, which I don't know. I'm no expert on that, but it just wasn't. It wasn't what I want from Ghoti Hook. It wasn't didn't put me. It didn't get me going. Didn't float my dick. Was not fully submerged, etc. and so on. Whatever other euphemisms I could throw in there, but you know, it wasn't the worst thing I ever listened to either. Looking forward to hearing the last 6 songs, because I did not even know there was an EP after this at all. I at least had heard of this album, so looking forward to that. You know, looking forward to what else is coming up soon. Magpie for life. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Thanks, buddy. What I will say is, if you were not feeling 2 Years to Never, I don't think you're going to be feeling 6 songs.
Nope.
But I appreciate your response, and I did not disagree with it when the record came out. As we covered last week, I think spending some more time with it, coming to it on its own terms, has helped me sort of shift my perception of it a bit. And I wanted to call out a few people who weighed in on our question of the week, which, as we're recording, I just put up today, so we haven't gotten maybe as many responses as we'll get to read yet. But just a few that have come in so far, we kind of asked the question, like, what do you think about 2 Years to Never? It was maybe a divisive record. Did you appreciate their turn into a new sound? Where does it rank among their discography for you these days? Jesse J. Arsenault also weighed in on Instagram, saying 2 Years to Never was my first and only Ghoti Hook CD. I always knew people loved them, but I was just late. I heard Mach 3 on the Cheapskates comp, which you called out before, Andrew.
Yep.
That's why I bought it. If I had heard Suma Surprise and Banana Man first, I probably would have been a big fan. Fascinating to hear about somebody whose window into Ghoti Hook was this record.
Yeah, and that Mach 3, which I had called out on the Cheapskates because I had those comps back in the day, and I listened to them a lot. And we've called out on that episode that Mach 3 was, to me, like, I thought, a curious choice as a single, and it still is not one of the better streamed songs of on the album. So that is curious. Maybe it struck chord differently 20 years ago, but or maybe that's the sound that they were really trying to go for. But or maybe they felt like it was one of the more accessible songs or the most representative. But it is interesting that is the song that was like the oh, this is interesting, I got to go pick this album up.
Yeah, it worked for Jesse. And Aaron Schroeder on Facebook said, where I was at in my life, the album just hit me the right way. They matured a bit, which I appreciated. I did miss the unbridled punk from previous albums, but 2 Years to Never was able to stand on its own for me. Brandon Staub on Instagram says it's his number one of the Ghoti Hook records, which is a hot take. And Kevin Lester on Twitter said he liked it quite a bit back then, but appreciated it even more over the years. I wish their previous albums could have sounded as good as this one came out. Agree with all that.
That's one area that I agree, because we will be sharing our rankings of the 4 main releases of Ghoti Hook at the end of this episode. I don't think anybody will be surprised necessarily, but one of the things, like, it just sounds better. It just sounds good. And I do wish that there could be a way to revisit some of these especially Banana Man, that there is something lost to that. And all the experimentation that they did on 2 Years to Never with different instruments. And I feel like there could have been something cool done. Maybe we'll probably never know, but I do appreciate that take.
Yes, agreed. Plenty for us to unpack when we get into 6 songs here today.
Yes. We got something from our boy Jason from Unoriginal Vinyl. Maybe a little more interesting history.
Ooh.
And now it's time for another episode of Interesting History with Unoriginal Vinyl. 2 Years to Never, releasing another Ghoti Hook record ever again edition. I call this segment the Sympathy for the Record Label portion of this podcast. Why would you have sympathy for the devil? Well, it's kind of like the story of growing up. When you're a record label and you put all of your money, efforts, promotion, marketing dollars into a band like Ghoti Hook, and then they promptly do an about-face on their 3rd record. Or let's take Squad 5-0 as another example of this, or Value Pack to a lesser extent. You are caught with your pants down with a loyal fan base. And suddenly you have to do a lot of explaining to not only the fans, but also the Christian bookstores. Where do I file this? Where does this band now fit in my music for Jesus chart? They used to be in the Sounds Like Green Day, Sounds Like Epitaph Records category. And now we've transferred them into the Sounds Like Shades Apart or Game Face category. Not particularly marketable. So Tooth and Nail found themselves obviously in this situation where they had to take a lot of their legacy and most popular bands and throw them in the garbage in favor of what Hot Topic was preferring, which was this new and aggressive emo / metalcore genre from Florida and places farther east and to the south that were exciting. And unfortunately, the results of which you can sort of see. The bands weren't making good or interesting music, and the people were not buying those bands' records anymore, consequently. I guess this is growing up, but in this case, I feel sympathy for Tooth and Nail, quite frankly, because they had a lot of splaining to do.
Some hot takes from Shadow Producer Jason there.
Yes. I mean, I don't disagree. I did hear that this was the case specifically for Squad 5-0, that they went pretty much a full switch from that ska punk to glam rock.
Right.
And after they got that like major label sign deal, and it's just like, what the hell is this? And I think a lot of fans and people were like, what is going on? But I honestly, I don't feel like 2 Years to Never, even though it was a departure, I feel like 6 songs is the bigger departure. If they went from songs we didn't write to 6 songs, I'd be jump. Like, it is a big jump.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is a big jump to 2 years, but it's like a colossal jump to 6 songs. They sort of continue on in that trajectory even more. It's interesting. I hadn't necessarily thought about the label being upset about these changes, because I think in my head, whenever I sort of imagine these, I imagine them as sort of pressure from the label to be like, hey, pop punk isn't doing as well anymore. Let's do this new thing. But it makes sense that it could just have easily have been the band being like, we want to move in this direction, and the label being like, well, we were interested in this sound. So yeah, I would have sympathy in that case, but it's just interesting how many bands that happened for, as we've talked about, that like the pop punk bubble was bursting. But it's, I mean, yeah, we can't point to that many artists that tried that and it was successful for, right? Like
not on Tooth and Nail, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there are bands that broke through, in the early 2000s with the explosion of emo, who maybe didn't start out as emo, but like a lot of those pop punk bands who tried something, I don't think it really paid off for most of them with these swings. But
well, we did talk about them last episode, but Fall Out Boy being one of them, just like fully ditching pop punk altogether,
right?
And instead going with a full just radio pop approach.
Yeah, so I suppose I think about them a little differently because they were fully in the 2000s when they started. You know what I mean? And like, I missed out on a lot of that stuff because I was never really that to me feels like after the sort of pop punk skate punk thing had already kind of fallen by the wayside. So I never really got.
That's fair. The early 2000s fueled by ramen scene was maybe a little bit different.
Yeah. Interesting conversation though.
Sure, definitely.
When is it an artist who wants to do it? When is it pressure? When do they think they should do this? When do they just want to do it because they're interested in that or because other people are doing it? Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon. So Andrew Cackler appears to have opened a door to cackle and then closed it, but then kept cackling.
The door can't stop the cackler.
I like that he's incorporating new elements, new sound effects.
He's a Foley artist, if anything.
That's right. Oh man, he should be making some money as like some sort of voiceover artist if he's not already getting those cackles out there. I was literally just thinking the other day, like, we haven't heard from him in a little while, but whenever he decides to, it'll be the perfect time. And
It's true.
It was true. He doesn't pepper it on too much. He doesn't go too long. It's just the right amount of cackling.
Yeah, it's the Goldilocks of cackling is what it is.
Yes, that's what we should call him from now on.
Yeah, his cackling is just right.
Oh man, we should do a collab and make some Phantom Cackler merch while we're at it.
I've I can sample it and do like a cackler remix of some kind.
Ooh, I like that.
Just a Phantom Cackler summer banger.
Ooh, yeah, with some beats into that. Sounds
mm.
good.
We need to call out our boy Robert Snyder, Patreon punk,
aka the listener who has binged the most episodes in the shortest amount of time.
Correct. So he sent us an email that said, "Okay, I finally did it. I have my rankings for the MXPX albums. Aside from some singles, I was really only familiar with the discography up through their passing moment until listening to the pod. I re-listened to the album discussions you did and had to listen to some of the albums multiple times to nail down my rankings. But this is what I came up with. And honestly, John, just sort of like perusing the list, doing like just passing over.
Yeah.
I would need to relook at our rankings, but this is not too different. I think
no, it's pretty close.
It's pretty close. So
yeah,
he's got. We'll start with number 10. Before Everything and After, which was my number 10, and then he goes Secret Weapon. So those were switched for us. You were Secret Weapon, Before Everything and After.
Mm-hmm.
Then 8 is Poking At Ya. 7 is Plans. 6 is Self-Titled. 5 Ever Passing Moment. Then Panic. Then into the top 3. Got Teenage Politics, Slowly, and then Life in General, which are our top 3, but just in a different order.
Right.
So
was that our top 4? Did you have Panic at 4?
I think we. I can't remember if I had. I think we talked about how Panic and the self-titled could be swapped for me.
Yes.
If I'm
Panic 4 and self-titled 5, and you had the other way around. Yep.
Yeah. It was. I feel like I love Panic and I love the self-titled. So they're such strong contenders for me, but
yeah.
But he says he's going to listen to the 5 Iron reviews and provide some takes and corrections.
Ooh.
So
he was the one who left the podcast review where it said, "I apologize for the negative things I said about all the hype." In our voice.
That is true. Yes, he is going to be the one to declare, not dissimilar from Meg from Monterey, that All the Hype is a great album. We're just not going to.
It's an album.
It's an album. We're just not going to agree with all the hype stands out there, John. I just don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Sorry, everybody. But yes, thank you, Robert. We largely agree with your takes here. We should also call out our dude James, who emailed us. Should I read this one?
Yes, please go for it.
James says, hey, Andrew, John, I'm not one to email a podcast, but I felt compelled to reach out to y'all after finding the podcast back in January. Just finished the 5 Iron Frenzy series, still making my way through the back catalog. Your show connects with me on a multitude of levels, face stuff, non-face stuff, y'all's humor and the music. I grew away from a lot of this music after high school, as you do, but I never thought I'd be able to listen to hours of entertaining banter about music that was as important and impactful part of my adolescence, but also pretty obscure to most people. Not many people are aware of Dogwood or Ghoti Hook. Love what y'all are doing. Can't wait to see what's down the line. And he went on to recommend a few bands. And Andrew, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything here.
I think we need to. I think we just need to because John, let's be honest. It's not that far away. It's August.
That's true. It's coming.
It's coming around the corner.
You know, for your spoopy stands out there.
Yes.
Like your boy who loves a good scare, loves October, loves Halloween. August is usually about the time that I'm like, cool, Halloween's coming real soon. And I get very excited. And I pitched this idea of an October miniseries where we cover some spooky bands from the Christian alternative world. And Andrew's into it. So that is what is coming in October, people. Get ready. Magna Fright Pod.
Was that what I pitched last week off
I
pod?
think so.
I couldn't
like Magna Fright Pod.
Magna Fright Pod. I couldn't remember what I remembered there was something that I pitched off the cuff, but I couldn't remember.
I think that's pretty good. We can workshop it. If
yeah,
you have
workshop.
Other suggestions, folks, let us know. But
I do like Magna Fright Pod is it's just going to be we're going to do, I don't know, maybe do month long.
Yeah.
Do like one-off bands, you know.
Yes.
Maybe some deadlines.
Yes.
Some the Calibretta, the Joe.
Yes, perhaps Harley Poe.
Yeah.
Calibretta 13's new
Calibretta.
band.
Yes.
Grave
new
Robber.
new band that's been around. It's been around for like
new band post Calibretta. Perhaps Grave Robber, another band, and then James's recommendation here, Blaster the Rocket Man.
Rocket Boy.
Oh yeah, I don't see. I got a lot to learn. Blaster the Rocket. Well, it was Boy and then Man, right? I believe that's what happened. I believe they went from boy to man.
As you do.
We'll learn more in October.
Blaster the Rocket Man.
There you go. I think they were boy at some point, so we're both right.
Yeah, it formed in the early 90s as Blaster the Rocket Boy.
There you go.
And signed with Boot to Head Records in 94.
Yep.
But they were a horror punk band from Indianapolis. So
yeah, you wouldn't think there'd be too many horror punk or horror, whatever bands to choose from the alternate Christian I'm struggling, from the alternative Christian scene we've been covering, but there are several, just enough for a spooky month of a special miniseries. So get your tombstones ready for that. I don't know.
I do like these covers that I'm seeing.
They're pretty cool, man. There's a lot of cool stuff there. We can't get to everything, but we'll touch on some of each of those probably.
Yes.
So anyway, that's coming. He says perfect for Halloween October episodes, which you are correct about. Also recommends Squad as number 2, which we may be getting to later this season. We'll see. And 90 Pound Wuss was his third recommendation, which we've said many times. If and when we do a hardcore season, they will certainly make the cut. I would really love to do a hardcore season. Maybe it's a little shorter. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that would be really fun.
I do think that'd be fun.
So thanks, James. Great suggestions all the way around. Glad you're digging the show.
Yes. Thanks, man. So I think that's it for voicemails.
Sure.
And emails. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, folks,
for reaching out. So John, I think we should keep the love train choo-choo going a little bit, because I think we need to talk about some things that are bringing us joy in our ongoing segment, Joy Boys.
Happy, happy, joy, joy, joy.
Happy, joy, joy.
Yes. What's bringing you joy right now?
So there's some music coming out, and there's some conflicting feelings that I have, because as everybody who's been listening to the pod knows, One of my all-time favorite bands is Between the Buried and Me.
Mm-hmm.
And last year I purchased VIP tickets for a show in St. Paul that was supposed to be in May, and obviously it got canceled, and it got rescheduled to August. And it's coming up in when this comes out, it'll be less than 2 weeks away. It's supposed to be happening on the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not feeling super comfy with the state of things right now.
Right. Yes.
As the Delta variant explodes and other Lambda variant is another thing that's on the horizon that is showing resistance to the vaccine, which is hella cool. Really loving that. Thanks everybody for not getting vaccinated. It was really nice to have 1 month of something that felt normal. So, but this is a Joy Boy segment. But what I'm saying is, I've been so looking forward to the possibility of this show.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going to happen in 2 weeks. But what I will say is Between the Buried and Me is releasing a new record soon. That'll be their first record in 3 years. Colors 2. Now, for those of you who are BT Bam fans, you will know that Colors is one of their most highly regarded records. And to release an album called Colors 2, I mean, it'd be like, taking the most perfect piece of art and or the most perfect film and trying to one up it, or it's hard to imagine taking something that is so beloved by fans and being like 2, because this album at this point came out 14 years ago. Colors did. And but the 2 songs that they have released so far, Fix the Error and Revolution in Limbo, really, to me, capture that Colors sound, which is exciting to me.
Yeah.
That the 2 songs that they've released sort of take me back to that era of their music. And it's not that their music and the albums that they've released in recent years haven't been sort of in the same vein of their progressive metal or anything, but listening to it, it is giving me those kinds of vibes. And people should check out the Fix the Error music video, because it's an animated video and the artwork is super cool. And they have some guest drummers on that track, and they appear in the music video as well. And almost certainly this is going to be in my top albums of the year. It's just pretty much a guarantee.
Sure.
Anytime that Between the Buried and Me releases a record, it is in my top albums of the year.
Let alone a sequel to a beloved classic.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it would be like if Radiohead did Kid A2, just be
Kid B.
Yes, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, people would be like, that's kind of a bit risky to,
right?
Because they could have easily just called it anything else,
right?
But
it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
And it could be that they're continuing some storylines from
Sure.
that record, that's sort of continuing some of those themes. That could be part of it too. I need to see once the album comes out and kind of compare and see kind of what the albums are together. And how they sync together and everything. But I don't there aren't two there. It's not every year. There's not an album that like gets me super psyched every year, like this, especially, I mean, I love a lot of bands, but this being one of my all-time favorites, it's a moment. It's a moment to relish and to be excited about. So
Yeah.
I've already pre-ordered the vinyl, of course. So
Right.
I am very anxious to listen to it and to share it with you guys once I just dive into it.
Yeah. Speaking of heavier bands with stories and characters, we haven't talked much about the band Fucked Up, but are you
Oh,
into them?
hell yeah.
Yeah, they seem very up your alley. I've listened to a bit of the new album, which is like Zodiac based and is the Year of the Horse, right? It's like apparently they got a playwright to help them write it, and there's like characters and narration and acts, and it's about a horse who needs to get back to his home in the stars. I mean, that sounds like some cool shit right there.
I have
I was
not
like Fucked Up.
When did this
I think really recently, like in the last couple weeks even. Maybe.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't know.
This is not my Joy Boys yet, although I've
okay.
listened to some of it and I do enjoy it, but need to spend more time with it first. But Fucked Up, was a good time.
Yes.
All right. Any more joyful items for you?
Well, no, that was kind of my primary thing, just lifting up my dudes. Also just I love watching people who are amazing musicians, just watching them play, people who just crush it on their instruments.
Mm-hmm.
People who are just, their level of proficiency just blows my mind. I just it really excites me to see people just be so good at what they do. So which is also part of why it's like hurts to think that like what's going to happen in these next couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. For some reason in my house, we've watched several things lately that feature scenes of concerts or people at shows or whatever, and I annoy my wife by going, I want to see live music. Like as I've said on this pod, there are two things that truly bring me great joy in this world, and I haven't been able to do them for the last year and a half, but one of them is seeing shows, which hopefully we'll both be able to do soon. We'll see. The other is going to the movies, which I've done twice now, baby.
Oh shit.
The second time was earlier this week when I saw the first of the joyful noises I'm going to make onto the pod, The Green Knight, which is a movie about the medieval story Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Maybe familiar. He's a knight in King Arthur's court. He is challenged by this mysterious Green Knight to battle him, and then he sort of has to go find him and have this hero's journey. And this movie is directed by David Lowery, who has done a lot of movies I liked. He did the movie A Ghost Story. He did the Pete's Dragon remake, which is actually surprisingly good if folks haven't seen it. He's a really interesting filmmaker, and he approaches this sort of medieval story in a really interesting way. If you're a film head, I'm sure you've already either heard about this movie, or if not, you would appreciate a lot. Just like really, really striking visuals, very sort of ambiguous storytelling that may frustrate some people, but that I find, oh yeah, give it to me like unexplained and nuanced, baby. And
I'm pretty sure we had this exact same conversation about Tenet.
Yeah, well, this is a better movie than Tenet, I will say. So anyway, highly recommend. Highly recommend. Michael Caine does not appear in The Green Knight.
So do I need to go fight this Green Knight? No, it's a different Green. It's a great different Green Knight.
And he's great, but he's not the Green Knight.
But he's not the Green Knight. But he also died. But he's not dead yet. but he
Well,
will
that-
be.
That is kind of the narrative though, of this movie. So take that for what it's worth. There's a lot of mysterious things happening, but I think it's visually amazing. Sonically, the sound is incredible. I think there's a lot of interesting things happening by way of sort of religion and spirituality in it,
Okay.
and nature and how those things intersect with each other.
Mhm.
So anyway, Green Knight, really, really into it. Another movie that is not so much a joy boy item, more of a sad boy item, but I am joyful about the fact that it's a really good film and that people seem to be into it, which is the movie Pray Away, which came out on Netflix this week as we're recording. I had a few friends who were involved in the making of it, so I've kind of been hearing about how it happened along the way, but it seems to have been a pretty big premiere on Netflix. A lot of people seem to be watching it and have been impacted by it. And I think, it's a documentary about the sort of ex-gay movement.
Right.
This, pray the gay away, conversion therapy,
Right.
thing that was big when we were growing up in the youth group culture of the 90s. And, some of us may have thought that stuff went away, and it really hadn't. It has stuck around for a long time and is still, for survivors, leading people to trauma that they have to overcome, and for a lot of people drove them, unfortunately, to taking their lives. And so there wasn't, they were not able to survive the kind of trauma that these programs put people through. So it's heavy stuff, but it ultimately optimistic in terms of the people profiled and sort of how they came away from that, how they've maybe still been able to find connection to God or to community, to others, in spite of what they had been told in these groups. And I think it'll resonate with a lot of our folks in terms of a lot of the things that we've covered on the show, the kind of the 90s sort of megachurch youth group culture that was very on fire for the Lord, and as we've talked about, was often led by people who had no training whatsoever to be helping people with these things. There were not people with mental health backgrounds or even seminary backgrounds, drilling into a lot of people who were largely kids that they were no good. And it's like another angle of the thing that we talk about so often on the pod with these lyrics from these bands who are teenagers who are just like, I'm so disgusting, God, I'm worthless, I'm awful.
Yes.
And it's like, you're really not, you're doing fine. Like, and these kids were good kids, and that's what makes it even more heartbreaking. So anyway, I definitely recommend checking it out, but be warned that there is some pretty heavy stuff in it.
I contemplated it the other night, and I've just not been in an emotional space in the last month or so that I'm like, I can't do this right now.
Understandable.
So I was like, I do, as you were saying, it's important to kind of get like that first initial release bump, so it sort of tracks that people are interested in this. But for those, I guess, people who can handle the heavy at the moment, I mean, it's on my list, and I just know that it's just gonna, coming from our own church background with our former denomination, and just feeling like the ways that so many queer friends of ours have been hurt, it sucks. So I think I just need to steel myself to watch it and maybe watch it with somebody so I can process afterwards.
Probably a good idea. Give me a call if you need to.
Certainly. I'll probably polo you and cry and be like,
that's what we're about these days, baby. Poloing and crying.
I mean, I pretty much every polo that I send to John these days is just like, what even is life, man? Like, what even is anything? That's just sort of my deal these days.
Yeah, that's just the vibe of the world right now.
Just turn that emo dial up just week after week after week.
Yeah, man. Well, anyway,
that's what
these things. That's exactly. These things are bringing us some level of joy in a weary world. So check them out, everyone.
Yes. So we don't have a game this week, John, because I was having a hard time finding inspiration from a 6-song EP that I have some mixed, or maybe not mixed feelings about. So I think we just need to, we say we jump into it.
I like it.
Take a break, come back, and talk about the very last release of music from Ghoti Hook. 6 songs.
What exactly makes Beyonce the queen bee? How do we feel about Ariana Grande's use of rap vernacular? And most importantly, what's better, chamomile or spiced chai? We ponder all of this and more on Hot Tea Hot Takes, now a part of the Rock Candy Podcast Network. Our show is just 2 friends drinking tea and discussing music, culture, politics, and anything else that comes to mind. We cover everything from Mozart to Megan Thee Stallion. New uploads are posted weekly. Look for it wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you soon. Bye!
This is not yet Magnafright Pod.
This is not Magnafright pod yet. We're back. We are talking 6 songs. The last release coming out 2002.
Yes.
Erroneously attributed to any number of years across the internet. But from our sources, 2002 seems to be the date.
Yes, pretty tricky to find much information out there on this record. But yes, we believe released 2002 on Velvet Blue Records, which was an indie label founded by Jeff Cloud, who had been in Starflyer and Joy Electric. I don't know who produced it. Maybe the band. It's tough to find much. Be interesting to hear more next week when we talk to Joel Bell about how this record came to be, how they ended up with Velvet Blue. I'm very eager to hear more about this one in particular because the first time, what's the question? When did I first hear of 6 songs? It was like this season for sure. I never knew this existed until this year.
Me neither. Yeah. I missed this completely.
Yeah.
This is not something that was on my radar until I think maybe we started covering, or we were starting to like talk about covering Ghoti Hook. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what this is. Yeah.
I was very curious, and I am a little bit glad that I found it now versus back then, because I don't think my heart was prepared to receive it.
No.
In 2002.
That was also my freshman year in college. And we all know your freshman year in college is when you sort of toss aside your childish things and you start to try and like get into new, more mature music. And so I think some of that, especially my college freshman year, is when I really started getting into jazz and metal.
Yeah.
And a lot more indie and hip hop. Right. And so I like punk stuff was sort of like not where my head was at my freshman year of college. So even if I did hear this, I mean, it's not even remotely punk anyway.
Yeah. This is the furthest away from their early days. Of anything they've done for sure. I mean, overall, not my vibe. But there are certainly elements I appreciate. And I do think, like I said, with 2 Years to Never, if I look at it on its own terms and I get on its wavelength, I do think there's plenty to appreciate here. Now it's like even less my lane than 2 Years to Never. As we said last week, that was sort of more comparable to maybe what Juliana Theory and bands like that were doing around that same time. This is less in the sort of emo direction they pushed on that record and more a continuation of some of the hair metal adjacent sort of crunchy garage rock, butt rock sound.
you joked about how 2 Years to Never had some butt rock on it, and I sort of bristled at that. I'm like, no, I wouldn't really call so much of it butt rock. This 6 songs, I feel like they jumped in a time machine and went back a full decade to early 90s. I feel like these 6 songs have more in common with like Pearl Jam than it does the first Ghoti Hook record.
For sure. And I that's another thing that I'm like curious about. I know that they, wanted to be taken a little more seriously and we're maybe in a different place in terms of songwriting. So that's another thing I'm eager to hear more about. But I will say, so on the sort of press release they put out with the record, they said, for fans of the Cults, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, and TSOL, the Cults, hair metal adjace, which makes some sense here. Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, that sort of crunchy, fuzzy garage rock. There's certainly elements of that. TSOL is interesting. I mean, I think of them as being more like a hardcore band, but they definitely did move in a more straight rock direction. So those are all bands that I like. And once I sort of got that frame of reference for it, like it makes more sense for the sort of vocal influence in particular, these kind of flamboyant singers. And once I was like, okay, that's kind of the vibe you're going for, it all kind of made a little more sense to me, but not traditionally my lane of preferred rock.
No. No. We've talked about how I'm more of a fan of pop rock or alt rock kind of stuff than you are. This does not fall into that category for me.
Yeah.
Like I can get down with some more grunge or pop rock stuff, but this just doesn't do it for me, like even a little. And which is sad, because for the last conversation that we have about Ghoti Hook music, like the last thing that we're talking about, it just sort of like bums me out that we can't, for me, like I wish we could end on a little bit of a higher note and a less critical note. But there's just not so I'll say this. The musicianship, you can clearly tell that over the course of their time together, like, are they better musicians than Sumo Surprise? Obviously.
Yeah.
The guitar work and the song structures, they're playing with a lot. There's a lot happening. It's not a straight ahead 3-chord punk song that anybody can hammer out. They're doing some stuff on here that is different. And we talked last week about some of those swings that they took on 2 Years to Never. And sometimes there were some swings and they connected, and sometimes there were some swings and misses. I can appreciate the musicianship and the shredding that's happening, and what they're doing. Like I can appreciate that there is some better musicianship happening on these 6 songs. It's not my vibe.
Yeah, I mostly agree with that. I do think once I'm kind of able to get into the vibe, I can appreciate it more on the level that it's going for, rather than just being like, but this doesn't sound like Banana Man.
But that's not even what I'm saying. I'm not like, at this point, that's a foregone conclusion.
Sure.
Like after 2 Years to Never, like we're not getting Banana Man again.
Right.
And that's fine. I'm not expecting bands to make the same album over and over and over again. And there's just I don't know this. I don't know if it's hard to know. And these are questions for Joel, like the songwriting influence over their discography.
Yeah.
Like who had the input on Sumo Surprise versus Six Songs? You know, like
Right.
how did that songwriting break out? Like how did that come to be? And you know, could be you know, Mark, that
Yep.
he, you know, being introduced to the band, and that there's some more of his influence on some of the songwritings and the directions of some of that stuff. Or maybe, you know, by this time Joel was like, he was the primary guy at this point, like, and he was
Right.
just like, this is gonna be my pet project or whatever, I don't know. But
Yeah.
there's just this direction, this bigger shift. I feel like if they honed what they were doing with 2 Years to Never, I would have been like, okay, cool. But this
Sure.
is like a different direction completely. It's not just like we're gonna kind of like tweak it a little bit. This is very different.
Right. Yeah. If you heard this and Sumo Surprise back to back, it'd be shocking to find out it's the same band. And we should say it's down to just the three of them at this point. It's
Right,
Joel,
yes.
Jamie, and Adam.
Yep.
I'm assuming maybe there's some guests along the way here and there. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, I do think musically they sound good. I think production-wise it sounds good. I mean, the vocals could be louder in the mix sometimes for me, I think. But overall, I think it sounds pretty good production-wise. You know, vocally, you know, I like some yelly Joel.
Yep.
I like me some croony Joel, but Rockstar Joel isn't especially my bag. But again, if I'm kind of like, I'm at the Viper Room in LA with some leather pants and it's 2002, I'm like, maybe I can get into this. I don't know. So that's probably enough context, unless you have other thoughts.
You know, there's one song with a female vocalist.
Yes, don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't have any liner notes. And all music is usually a good resource for credits. I don't have that from them.
Yeah.
This time around, Discogs is also letting us down.
Yeah.
So
no, I don't know who she is. She sounds good. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
I like the vibe that she brings.
Yeah.
Much like the female vocalist we've heard on the last few Ghoti Hook records.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming
perhaps one of them.
One of them. But let's should we just get into it?
Let's do it.
First track. Head Like a Hole. I mean Drop Dead. Guitar tone sounds great though.
Yes, it does.
This just sounds like Motley Crue.
It does kind of. It's my number 3. Didn't make your list.
No.
Here's what I'll say. I mean, they're owning it. There's a to open it and to close. Big big butt rock riff, full hair metal vocals. I mean, full tilt. But I will say, once they get to the chorus, that's really fun. I really think it's like a driving energy to that.
It is a driving energy. I think the song would be fun live. I think a lot of these songs would be fun live.
Yeah.
It's just an example of putting them on and not being here for it. Like I feel bad, you know, like
sure.
But because last week I was talking about how, you know, I can when I was talking about the song It's All Right, and I'm like, can't you picture like Joel, like, you know, leaning over the edge of the stage, mic in his hand, being like, and I feel like I can visualize this, but the sort of hair metal cheese, that's kind of vibes that I'm getting. It's just like, it's a bit tough. And don't you, I joked at the beginning that I was like, I call it Head Like a Hole, but like, bow down before the one you serve. Yes, you're going to get what you deserve.
I definitely what you deserve. Yeah, I did not pick up on that. You're not wrong. Yeah, I don't know. I obviously hear you, but I think so. What I miss on this record is any song with punk drums and punk tempo. Give me that double time, and it's just not there. And that chorus feels a little bit like that to me, you know, where it's like, okay, now we're going somewhere. It's driving, it's propulsive. I like that energy a lot once they get there. As you said, the guitar parts, I think the guitar parts in the bridge are really fun. The guitar sounds great throughout this album.
Yeah. The guitar tone, everything is mixed really well, with the exception, as you noted, of the vocals.
Yes.
Which feel a little pulled back.
They do. It's not a good match for how much everything else is being pushed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It needs to be up to 10 like all the other elements are. So that does stand out a bit. Lots of, you know, wah-wah pedal all over the place and just solos all over the place, and just, I don't know. I think if you're moving in that direction of being a super guitar solo driven band, your guitar has to sound good, and it does on this album.
Yeah.
I don't know. Lyrically, another one kind of like 2 Years to Never, where it's like, is this about the band ending? Is it about a relationship ending?
Could you find lyrics online?
I did. You can find them. You can find those at least. Liner notes, not so much.
Yeah.
So I'll be handling the lyric analysis in this episode.
Yeah, I couldn't. I couldn't. I found lyrics for. Yeah, I didn't need, like, Genius. You know, normally you'll
Genius
find.
has all of them. You can find them on
Really?
Genius. Yeah. So if you find like the album on Genius, you can go through the songs. I will say, not their most complex lyrics on this record. I think many of them seem to sort of be along these lines of an end of a relationship, whether that's a, you know, romantic relationship or friendship or band ending. It seems to kind of have that heaviness, not in the same way that 2 Years to Never did, of like, you know, a parent figure leaving, but like an awareness that the band is ending that seems to kind of loom over this. And right. I have to imagine that by the time they were doing this, they kind of knew that was the case. So that dynamic does kind of hang over, where it's like, is this about a band ending? You know, the band ending? Is this about a relationship ending? So anyway, Drop Dead, my number 3.
All right, Darling.
Slow down, darling. The music's on. We're dancing so slow, just for fun. The candles melted, your face is drawn. The song is over, the moment's gone. Slow down, darling, let's dance again. I'm trying so hard, baby, to see the end. Simply met by chance, I know I should have missed your smile. Walking down the hallway alone. Let's go anywhere, anywhere away from here. Let's not wait for I'm so sorry. Let's go anywhere, anywhere away from here. Let's not wait for I'm so sorry. Thought I wanted something real.
This is my number one.
This is my number 3.
Okay, I thought you were shaking your head as I was jamming there, so I thought you would
Look,
dismiss
bro.
this, but-
Look, bro. There's 6 songs on this record.
Yeah, this one rules.
It almost has like a Depeche Mode-y
Oh yeah,
kind of vibe to it, especially like that the bass thing, the bass and the it's once it gets to the chorus,
the chorus kicks ass, dude.
Let's
go anywhere.
Yeah.
Rules.
It wins me over by the chorus. But
Yes, I agree. If they hadn't have gotten to that chorus, I might have been like lukewarm. But I like that chorus a lot. It's really catchy.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind the sort of prog rocky pedal and sounds in the intro. I think that's kind of a cool vibe. But yeah, once they get to that, it's like an interesting propulsive tempo in the chorus. And I like the relationship between the verse and the chorus, where it's like the verse has started doing its own sort of slinky thing, and then it gets to this chanty chorus. I like that.
Yeah.
As you said, there's this fuzzy bass throughout that I'm into.
Yeah. Some weird effect on it. I don't know how to describe. Yeah, there's like it's almost like breathy.
Right. Yeah, I'm into it. But the ending is perhaps my favorite part. It's got some whoa gang vocals, back into some weird sounds, and then a cool closing riff. Could we hear that at 2:51?
Yeah.
A rule.
This is an example, as I was saying, of a song that you're like, I think live would win me over, and be really, really fun. But there's some cool effect that they have going on, on that bass. That it has an 80s vibe to it.
Yes, for sure. All these songs have an 80s vibe to it. I don't know. I'm
fair.
This is the one song that I'm fully on board for, I would say. So anyway, I'm in my head right now because I'm thinking about the set list that we're going to talk about. And, spoiler alert, I didn't put any songs from this record on there, but I'm like, should Darling have snuck in there? That'd be pretty fun. No. Andrew with the definitive. No.
Bro, you get 10
too many other songs.
You get 10 Ghoti Hook songs, and
it's tough to make the 10. And
to bump something just to include something from this.
On the other hand, let's go anywhere. I think thematically it is a love song, but it is not clear to me whether it is a makeup song or a breakup song. But either way, it's a rocky love song. Anyway, Darling.
Let It Ride, not to be confused with Let's Ride.
it and you know it's on. Getting's good and the day is gone. Hit the strip in the city of sin. Double down, 21 to win. Let it ride and I'll take my chances. These desert lights are shining tonight for me, yeah. Let it ride till the morning finds out my chances made a fool out of me, yeah.
Go on and save yourself. Take it out on me.
I don't really like this one.
It's it has a this is a convertible top down driving song.
Yes.
Like in some
Driving into
in
the
like some
desert,
sort of
baby.
like in some sort of like gambling movie.
Yes,
You're
absolutely.
you're just like they're like on the in the desert driving to Vegas and like
Yeah.
you know, just some wide shots of a convertible driving through the
Yeah.
desert, you know.
Pulling up to Vegas.
Yeah. But it's a good enough riff, but
Yeah. That, like I said, it kind of reminds me of Audio Slave or Rage. That I don't know. I just can't take the vocals seriously here. It's just too. It's like a Buck Cherry kind of like.
oh my
vibe.
god. Oh, bro. Don't make Joel cancel on us.
Okay, sorry. It's just like, you know what I mean, though. It's kind of that like.
It's yeah, it
there's,
has yeah, it
It's
Buck
just not my
Cherry.
vibe. It's just not for me. There's kind of this
No.
like arena rock, like stroke me kind of vibe going on. There's a yeah in the ending. I don't know. It's just like every sort of rock cliche about gambling makes it into this one. It's not my favorite entry on this record, but once again,
No.
you know, fun. I would have fun.
I've always said that Let It Ride is the crazy bitch of Ghoti Hook's discography.
were you looking at Buck Cherry's hit songs?
Do you know that song?
I mean, I remember Buck
They're-
Cherry, but
There's like I think crazy bitches they're like playing in like a jail cell or
that sounds
something.
right. Yeah. There was
Yeah.
a moment when that stuff was all over, and it was just never for me.
No, yeah, it's not for me. Even a little.
You know what?
You know what it is though?
I like those ghosts in the graveyard, baby.
Yeah. Yes.
Ooh, spooky.
I'm here for this.
Passing through the grave is a place where comfort lies. Keep me here as we stare down at where my body lies. This is not my home. Hasn't been for a while. Memories I have watched you cling to kept this ghost alive. Never could have told you that the words were on my lips. Endless as you separated yourself from me.
Picking up myself from what was nothing. You left and there was something more to say. Absence has denied me second chances. With hope and time I thought you'd go away.
as most of the song.
That is most of the song, but it's my number one.
Yeah, I really debated between this and Drop Dead for my number 3, but it's just outside my top 3.
Yeah, I this is one of the songs I'm like I as far as like within the context of these 6 songs,
Yes.
I think that they're doing something interesting on this song that is not.
Yes.
This isn't their Vegas gambling, Buck Cherry song. They're doing something a little interesting here. This is kind of outside what we've heard so far.
Yeah.
And it's like here's a female vocalist for half or more of the song.
Yeah.
And I'm here for that. I think that's kind of cool. And the sort of like the phaser vocals or whatever that they're doing, I think that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I really dig the female vocalist. Again, hopefully we can find out who she is, and the kind of spooky vibe of that opening. As I said, the idea of Ghost in the Graveyard. I'm obviously here for that.
Did you play Ghost in the Graveyard as a kid?
Oh no, is that like a board game or something?
Not what? No, is
it a tabletop game?
No, dude, it's like a kind of tag.
Oh, maybe I didn't.
And but you did it at night.
Oh, cool.
You never played Ghost in the Grave? Okay.
I don't think so.
Magpod Nation. I'm very curious because I thought this was like a ubiquitous sort of like Midwest game, or maybe it's not. Ghost in the Graveyard. Is this something anybody else is familiar with? This game. It's sort of like a form of tag, but you play it at night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Googling it, and people seem to know what it is, but there are different kinds of versions of it.
There are. I'm sure there's every probably neighborhood had their own version of Ghost in the Graveyard, their own rules. But
look, I forgot what Pectin is. I forgot what Ghost in the Graveyard is. I don't remember anything. Okay, I probably loved it as a kid, but it sounds like a cool tabletop game. Also,
there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. My issue is just like once that. I don't mind the sort of song that it turns into, but it's just not as interesting after that sort of intro for me.
Look, there is not a hook on this record that jumps out to me. There's not a chorus. There is not a bridge necessarily. I mean, well, maybe coming up, but there's not a song on this record that where something gets stuck in my head because it's super, super memorable.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why that is necessarily, but this is maybe because it's newer to me, but
yeah,
there's nothing super striking or memorable about these songs.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I like when she comes back in, like her vocal part is kind of working with Joel's and the sort of, I think it's the pre-chorus maybe, but that part is cool where they've got kind of two different things going on. I think the ending is kind of fun. They go into this riff, which always reminds me. Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
That fucking rules.
I think that's great. But always reminds me anytime there's a riff like that of blind man stood by the road and he cried. Will never not remind me of that.
Jesus.
Jesus. Great song. Another one that
woman sat by the well and she cried.
Show me the way. What a jam.
Let's get a hardcore version of it.
Ooh, there's probably one that exists. Show me the way. Show me the way. Show me the truth. Jesus.
Double bass.
We've got a 6-song EP of this coming up. Hardcore covers of
youth group worship songs.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Another one.
Jesus sat by the well and she died.
Oh man, we could do this all night. Yeah, another one that's about an end of a relationship in one way or another. Not sure if death here is like the metaphor for the end of a relationship or literally about death, but that seems to be the kind of vibe on this one. I agree. I definitely wavered. It was in my top 3 in different spots, various points, and ultimately some of those riffs in some of the other songs beat this out. But I think the vibe of this one is definitely cool.
Yeah, I just felt like I wanted to just shout out the song that to me felt the most unique and different, and the one that was like, ooh,
yes,
3/4 of this song is doing something
right,
kind of interesting and fun, and I don't know who this angel is, but I'm digging her voice.
Agreed.
You Bring Me Down, Bro. Not you.
Oh,
the song. It's my number 2.
It's my number 2 as well.
Yes.
I think the song rules. I don't know. I have no complaints here.
No, I don't have any complaints either. This is exactly kind of what I was talking about with is Joel and Jamie and Adam, are they better musicians by this point? Obviously. Listen to this song.
Yeah.
Like, even if you listen to this song and you're like, this is not my vibe, they have chops in a different way,
Yeah.
And so you can't listen to the song and be like, oh, these guys are the same teenage kids. Obviously they've grown in just in their musicianship, and whether this song is, you're like, ugh, this is not Ghoti Hook, this is not middle ground, this is not whatever, Shrinky Dinks, but this is, of course it's not, no, but just like the shredding and the riffage is just like, you're like, oh fuck yeah, like I can just, for me this is like, I could see this at just some small club and being like, oh man, this kind of fucking rules.
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
if it was a 3-piece, you'd be like, oh fuck yeah, these,
right,
it'd be
There's
so
a lot
cool.
of sound coming out of these
It'd
guys.
be so good. It'd be so good. So I'm here for this song.
Yeah, it is interesting that even with 6 songs, we only overlap on one. We always find a way to do that. But
I mean, we have 2 of the same top 3, just different.
Is that right?
Yeah, because I said was it Darling was my number 3?
Yeah. Oh, did you say that? I guess I missed that.
Well,
Okay,
I said,
good. Oh yeah,
whatever,
you did say that.
Yeah, whatever your number 1 was my number 3.
Sorry. Okay, 2 out of the 3 we overlapped on.
Yeah.
I am a fool.
Just fools, bro.
Ooh. But yeah, I think this one really has that kind of Black Rebel Motorcycle Club Jet sound,
Ooh, yeah, Jet.
Yeah,
Well,
just
bar
kinda
rock.
that crunchy, bar rock guitar. And I cannot resist those gang vocals.
No,
so
yeah,
good.
for sure.
I'll say overall the lead vocals maybe not quite there for me, but I think again that might be a case of if he was louder and thicker in the mix, I think it would make a difference. It just feels a little thin with the rest of it.
I know you like a thick boy.
I like a thick mix from a thick boy. But yeah, again, the chorus is super catchy. The guitar is super fun throughout. And I do want to hear another part of this. I feel like the endings of the songs are what really get me here. But this building repeated end chorus into this explosion is great. Yes. Oh yeah.
This is so great.
You bring me down. You bring me down. You bring me down. You bring me down.
Is this my number one?
I know, right? I'm like, maybe I made a mistake. 'cause
Maybe I
it's
made a
fucking rules.
Yeah, like that end is almost enough for me
it
to
is.
switch it to my number one.
It's really good.
Maybe I
man.
should. Jesus.
I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence.
I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it. I'm switching it. I'm
Okay.
switching Ghost in the Graveyard and You Bring Me Down. So it's You Bring Me Down is not my number one, Ghost in the Graveyard number two, and then Darling.
Yeah, I think I've got Darling number one, just barely beating out You Bring Me Down at 2,
Yeah.
and Drop Dead at 3. But boy, that ending sure shreds.
That does it for me. I mean, that's that kills it. It's just so good.
It's another one that, like, if we were at a show and we were like arms around everybody, you bring
Yeah.
me down. That sounds so fun.
It's so good.
Um,
And then like the
Another-
double time finally
yeah.
getting into some
I'm like, oh, it feels like punk a little. Ooh, hell yeah, dude. Oh man, I
Ready?
like that a lot.
Yeah.
Another one lyrically about a relationship that went bad seems to be the common theme here. Only
and
leaves one more. The sixth song's name is Robert Paulson.
this song is Robert Paulson.
That's right.
This song is Robert Paulson.
In death, the song has a name. Its name is Robert Paulson.
With a sense of no tradition, far away from true compassion, all the freedom we could want and more. On a platform made of bargain, there's a voice that spoke out in vain. Can you hear the shouting anymore? And while the page is turning, our case is built on wanting what they should never understand. And what will all the children say when they look back on yesterday? It is enough to make us stand. Time is worth more than ambition, pacified into submission.
Arguably the most punk song on this
Yeah,
record.
I guess that's true, which is interesting because it doesn't really do much for me.
No,
I
it
don't know.
doesn't. I mean, I would say it's up there higher than Drop Dead for me.
Okay.
But there are only really a handful of moments on this EP that are really standouts for me.
Sure.
And it's when things sort of like do something a little bit different. But
Right.
and even though Robert Paulson is like is kind of like has some more punk elements, even on an EP of a lot of hair metal-y adjacent jams, it still is not interesting enough to make my top 3.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of just doesn't go into the next gear for me ever. It's fine. I can't really figure out the lyrics. It seems to be kind of about taking a stand, like doing enough, and maybe it ties into Fight Club in that way. Perhaps maybe that's a reach. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It's not my favorite song. Not necessarily my favorite last Ghoti Hook entry ever. It's kind of a bummer that that's how it all ends. But I don't know. Like I said, I was thrown upon initially hearing this record, spending more time with it. I can really appreciate certain elements of it. So a fascinating conclusion to the Ghoti Hook discography.
Absolutely. I'm curious if when recording this, if they knew like this would be their last venture.
I believe they did. I believe I had seen that, but we'll confirm that.
We'll confirm. So yeah, that was 6 songs.
Yeah.
And John, that was Ghoti Hook.
It was, boy, kind
What a
of
journey.
sad to close the lid of the box.
I know, the box. That one was called The Box.
Yeah, Food Line. We
Food
haven't
Line.
opened the box in a while.
I'm
not
glad.
Too many problematic songs in a while.
No, I'm super glad we haven't opened up the box in a while. I was getting exhausted opening up the box seemingly
Just
like every
my
week.
arms were so tired of opening up that box.
It's like, oh God, like, so relief that there have been some boxless episodes for a while.
Yeah.
But so John, as is the case for whenever we wrap up a band, we got to do our 10 song set lists.
It's true.
But also we got to do our rankings.
Yes.
So
these rankings will come as a surprise to no one, and we'll take all of 10 seconds. But
do we want to do? We'll start with. So we're gonna do 4 albums. We're gonna do Sumo, Banana Man, Songs We Didn't Write, and 2 Years to Never. Those are the 4 albums that we're going to put in our rankings. We're not doing any of the. We're not doing this EP. We're not doing their EP demos or anything like that. So do you want to start with your number 4?
Sure. My number 4, 2 Years to Never.
My number 4 is Songs We Didn't
Write. This is the one I knew we were going to have 2 differences here. And I debated this. I mean, 2 Years to Never as an overall achievement of songwriting, I think is clearly better than Songs We Didn't Write. But Songs We Didn't Write is just so much more in my vein. There's so many bands I love that they cover. There's true punk on it, which I don't know if you can necessarily say about 2 Years to Never. It's just more in my lane, even if I sort of appreciate the big swings on 2 Years to Never more than maybe a covers album.
Yeah, it's I just think that the when it comes to a covers record, while I can appreciate the punk elements and what they were doing, I think the ways that they moved Ghoti Hook forward on 2 Years to Never just surpasses, because like what we talked about on Songs We Didn't Write is a lot of the covers are just like a 1-to-1. They weren't like there wasn't really anything on that with a handful of exceptions that I felt like were remarkable. They were just sort of like, and here's a punk version of Willie Nelson, and here is a punk version of whatever. And with the exception of something like Acquiesce by Stavesacre or the Pixies or just like songs that like you're like, okay, this is I could see this being performed live in a way that's like that could be really fun and successful. But or even the Cars, it's still like good, but it's not like it's a covers record and it achieves what it wants to achieve, but it's I do think my number 3 is a better achievement, which is 2 Years to Never.
Yes. And my number 3 is Songs We Didn't Write.
Sure.
Yeah, I will say there's a pretty big gap between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 for me here in terms of how much I appreciate the albums.
Yeah. And I will also say this, that like I have one song from Songs We Didn't Write on my Ghoti Hook set list, and I have 2 from 2 Years to Never.
Yeah, I have 0 from songs and 2 from 2 years. So maybe I should switch mine as well. I don't know. But I know the order of our 2 at the top are also going to be swapped.
Yes. So my number 2 is Banana Man.
Yeah, and mine is Sumo Surprise.
Yeah.
But I dearly love Sumo and Banana. I think they are like probably most Ghoti Hook fans. I don't know. Maybe that's not fair. Maybe
we just read some comments tonight
that was their favorite one.
That 2 years was their favorite.
Yeah, so maybe it's not fair, but for me, those are sort of that's the definitive Ghoti Hook sound for me. Those 2 records, and there are lots of interesting things in the other 3 that we've covered, but really, it's those 2 are pretty like unimpeachable for me. And I found more to appreciate in Sumo as we listened to it, but Banana Man's still my number 1 though.
Totally fair, totally justified. I understand why. In an alternate reality where Banana Man has a better mix,
yeah,
maybe that would make a difference. But in this current reality, when you factor in the way how that Sumo Surprise was my first Ghoti Hook record, and how they were very early on, like Sumo Surprise and Teenage Politics were among my first 2 Christian punk records when I was in 8th grade, and like how that just was just so life shifting for me.
Yeah.
That's just it's just the way that Teenage Politics and Sumo Surprise are always going to be a part of my a part of my story, a part of my punk rock story.
Yep. And I came to Banana Man first, and so it works in the same way for me.
Yep.
Well, those are those 4 records.
Yes.
Be curious to hear how those rank for other folks, and other folks' thoughts on 6 songs for sure. Curious about that. But gotta get to that set list, baby.
Yeah, bro.
Every band we cover, we come up with a little challenge for ourselves where we make a unrealistic 10-song set that the bands may perform in some kind of, perhaps a festival where they're playing 10 songs. We don't know. We're just limiting it to 10. And I feel like we do varying degrees of how likely these are to happen. I think mine today, I sometimes say, oh, Andrew, you went for something that's like I'm trying to go for something that might actually be real. This set would never happen that I've prepared for Ghoti Hook. So I'm making my peace with that this is a little outside what might actually come to reality. But anyway, I had fun making it.
All right, let's hear it.
All right. Set list, Ghoti Hook, reuniting. Very exciting in this alternate reality where this is happening. They're like, John, what 10 songs should we play? I'm like, thank you for asking. The best kickoff song, in my opinion, Banana Man. It's how the best album of theirs, in my opinion, kicks off. It would be a great start to a set. I will say up top, 6 of my 10 are from Banana Man. So
wow,
pretty lopsided there, but
wow,
it's by far my favorite of theirs, and it's how I came to know them and why they became one of my favorites. I love that album deeply, and I just couldn't. There were too many that and there were a bunch that I wish I could have. Honestly, my Ghoti Hook set is Banana Man straight through. That's what I would like to see. But So you got Banana Man kicking things off, and then it could bleed right into the next one, which is Seasons.
Hmm.
I think it's a good second song. It's a beloved song, keeping that energy level up. Now you've rocked so hard for this first two with those old school songs. You go into Lullaby for number
Ooh,
3.
oh, fascinating. I'm
Slowing-
fascinated by this. Okay. I'm listening.
Slowing it down a bit at the beginning. you know.
Jesus.
After those first couple songs, you got to chill out a little. But then, the rockin' energy comes up a little more. It's a little chiller energy though, but there's some rock in there. And then we got to break up those harder rocking songs with something. So Lullaby goes then into Cowboy, Andrew's favorite.
Of course you did.
Because after
Bust out those whips, everybody.
That's right. Everyone will be handed out whips ahead of time at this dream scenario of mine. So we blow through those 2 classic songs at the top of the set. We move into Lullaby for a different era, different kind of sound. Then you got to go back to another silly song. So that's why Cowboy's in there.
All right.
Now, my usual go-to for these sets is to have a little mini hardcore set, kind of 2/3 of the way through. But there were too many hardcore songs I wanted to hear, and I kind of tried to break up the sort of heavier songs here. So after Cowboy, we're going into Middle Ground. Wonderful song, opening up the pit. And then we go into Chevy Nova? Yeah, Chevy Nova.
Chevy
which
Nova.
is still heavy, but a little bit bouncier. It's kind of a different energy. It's not just straight pit songs necessarily back to back. But then after that, I'm going to break it up. So I'm going Love by the Numbers. Not a song in my top 3. I know it was for you, but I do love it deeply. And I think fans would want to hear it. I think people want to hear that song live. And, you can imagine the like, ding, 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 ding. Like if you hear that, everybody's going to go nuts. And then you run into the middle of the pit. So kind of change the pace there. Another classic. But then we got to switch it up again. So we go to My Bike. Now, I almost left off My Bike. And again, another one not in my top 3, but I had to fit this classic in,
Yeah.
And I feel like it was a good spot before the 2 closing songs, which I feel good about the way it ends. So we go from My Bike into South Capitol Street, another favorite of mine, good, cathartic, hard-hitting, second to last. And then we close out with Gimme a Chance, which I know is not Andrew's favorite, but I think it's just a really fun like release for a final song. It starts slow, then it explodes, then it slows down again. So that's 6 songs from Banana Man, 2 from Sumo, 2 from 2 Years. Too much Banana Man, perhaps. Too many fast hardcore songs, possibly. But I tried to kind of break it up and do different eras a little bit here. And there's an argument to be made for so many different iterations of this, but that's what I'm going with today.
That is a fascinating set list. we share 6.
Okay. I mean, that's a fair amount.
We share 6 of 10. So
hit me.
We are opening with Seasons.
Okay.
So I think what I want to hear, I want to hear that ringing guitar.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Like that'd be, and just like going into that ding, it just like it would kill.
Yeah, that's a compelling argument.
Kill. Just like maybe they're not on stage and you just hear that ringing power chord. Oh my God, everybody would lose their minds. Their minds. And then you don't even stop. You go right into Love by Numbers. Ding, 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 and then just like you just keep that energy going. Like so in my set, the energy pretty much does not
stops.
It does not stop because you go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You go right from that into fucking South Capitol Street.
I like it.
And you just kill it. You just kill it.
Probably be dead by that point, but I like it.
No, you can't be dead because by song 4 you got fucking Middle Ground, bro.
Ooh, oh man.
I can't believe you left off Middle Ground, bro.
Middle Ground's in there.
Wait, you had Middle Ground?
Yeah, it's
did I miss it
in there? I said we go Cowboy to Middle Ground.
Okay.
To Chevy Nova.
Okay, so we have 7 then. Okay, because you go Middle Ground for me into Chevy Nova.
Right on.
And then also not in my top 3, but I had to include Banana Man.
Yeah.
So Banana Man's
right.
my number 6. And then I had to include Shrinky Dinks.
Sure.
Because you can't, that's another song like,
Yeah.
just everybody would be super pumped.
Yeah.
And you also have to include also the classic, not in my top, but I don't think My Bike was in my top 3.
No, neither way.
But so I threw in My Bike, needed to have these in there because I felt like I needed to get a little bit of a representative sampling of some of those fan favorites. This is where it gets a little weird because I threw in Where Is My Mind?
Okay.
I wanted to have, we talked about how certain covers you're like, do I need this on an album? Maybe not. I don't know. But I do know that they did cover Where Is My Mind live. And it's an amazing song. They did a great job covering it. I want to see it live. I would love to be able to see them cover Where's My Mind live. That's an appropriate place for that kind of a song. And I close it with Lullaby. You might think, how are you not closing with one of their more iconic songs? But I think Lullaby would just be such a great closer song.
Yeah. I agree.
And for those Ghoti Hook fans that have stuck around, for this record and are into this record, I think this could be a really fun and cool closing song. And as we have discussed with Andy Verdecchio when we did set lists, this would probably be one of those sets that he'd be like, this is an impossible set.
This defies physics. Yeah.
You have to break up the intensity with a little bit. You have to give, but I don't know. I just kept the intensity going for pretty much 8 songs in a row.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I think that I a strong set list, all songs I'd like to see, good order. There's so many iterations of this. I really wrestled with this. I always spend way too much time on it, which is
I know
ridiculous, but it gets to the point that we want to see these bands. And this is the 5th band that we've covered the discography of now this season. And each one I'm like, can I see some of these songs live? Now, like Slick Shoes. Oh yeah. I mean, hard to argue with that. Man, it'd be so fun to see them live.
No, but for real, just imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. People would be going nuts. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
It's a good opener.
Come on.
Yeah,
undeniable.
It's pretty hard to beat that.
Oh, God, that'd be so good.
Having second thoughts.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I mean, Slick Shoes we will hopefully see live again soon.
That is conceivable.
But I mean, Dogwood, Value Pack, Ace, Ghoti Hook. I don't think we're seeing any of them anytime soon. Sadly.
Nope. I think the last time I saw Ghoti Hook was at Cornerstone, and I'm not sure at what stage of their career this was in. But
do you remember the year?
I honestly don't. I really,
blur.
really don't. It's all blur.
Beautiful blur.
Yeah.
Well, I had so much fun going through them. They're a band that means a lot to me.
Yes.
Kind of finding these corners of their discography that I haven't spent much time in or spent much time in a long time has been really fun. Reappreciating their first 2 records in a way that I'm like, I have nothing to feel like looking back on it any embarrassment about. I think they still hold up really well.
Oh, definitely not. There is not an album in the Ghoti Hook discography in the ways that like we've listened back to some records where I'm just
right.
like, Like
Not so
even
much.
some of the songs on Sumo Surprise where you're like Track Boy or whatever, you're just like, you're just, like, I can like overlook that in ways that I'm just like, that's something like Buy What Right on Rusty by Slick Shoes. I'm just
Yes.
like, woof, but there's nothing really in this discography, in their discography, that I'm just like pulling into Yikesville Station. There's
Right.
nothing like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been a
It's
true
been-
joy. It's been a true joy to listen to a lot of Ghoti Hook, and just have them back in my regular rotation. It's been a lot of fun, and we're not done yet. More Ghoti Hook content coming your way, people.
Ooh, shit.
But in the meantime, let us know what you think. Well, what set list would you have? What's your album ranking? What do you think about 6 songs? Give us that feedback. You can do that at Magnified Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Subscribe to the pod if you haven't already, and give us a rating or a review. We will read your review on the pod. Email us at magnifiedpod@gmail.com.
You can leave us a voicemail at 872-762-4763, 8727-MAGPOD.
You can support us on the Patreon at patreon.com/magnifiedpod. And we want to welcome our buddy, aforementioned last week, Dave Johnson. Welcome to... There you go. Maybe mine wasn't loud enough. We need more air horns for Dave. Welcome, Dave. Thank you so much. There's something happening there, but I can't really hear it. Thank you, Dave, for joining us. Friend of the pod. All the Wilhelm screams for you. Check out that Patreon content. Cool stuff going on over there all the time. You can also pick up some merch, maybe some decoder rings in the future. We'll see.
Yeah, I was definitely looking online for some decoder rings to send to our Patreon punks.
All right, perfect.
I don't know, I don't know I'm like looking at these secret decoder rings, and I'm like, they're kind of confusing. They're like, they have like, I don't know. Maybe we might need to send people something like less of like a cryptex, lock puzzle sort of ring.
Fair enough. Well, Magpod Pogs coming, maybe.
In Magnified Pogs, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. Check all that stuff out at magnifiedpod.storenvy.com. Thanks to shout out producer Jason at Unoriginal Vinyl. Thanks for sharing that interesting history with Unoriginal Vinyl again this week.
Absolutely.
And thanks to Heavy Ordnance Studios for our artwork. Well, our time in the penalty box is over for this week. We'll be back out on the ice next week when we'll welcome very special guest Joel Bell.
And this one goes out to our buddy.
You might just look a little bit kooky, but he thinks that's okay. He needs a job to pay off, so you get in Chevrolet. It tricks you what the he ain't your bird and all he does is stand. Except the times when he is running from the policeman. What's his name? Coming his neck.
R.I.P. Shawn Matthews.
Definitely.